Welcome back to the broadcast. It's now time that we get to the conversation, and I'll be introducing the guests that I have in studio shortly. They're all set as we get into the conversation of the legacy trend, just picking cue from what President Uhuru Kenyatta has constantly been saying, that it is incumbent upon him to remind us of how important it would be for us to make a decision of getting a leader who will continue with his legacy, the legacy of the former, that is Mwai Kibaki, and well, the legacy of, the main man, that is President Kenyatta, Jomo Kenyatta, back then. So this conversation is one that is worth, probably not supposed to be instigated by the president, but with ourselves as the voters, understanding how important and crucial it would be for us to get a leader that will take us to the next level, and that should be positively. Many a times we focus much on the aspect of tribe and the party affiliation, overlooking the importance of getting leaders that would run the country based on ideology, based on promises that would be fulfilled, based on the rule of law. On the longest time possible, we've been talking of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and many have said that, he goes down in history as one of the presidents that has gone against, the court rulings for the longest of time. But the question is, what in most cases instigates this move? That is technically what is happening. President Uhuru Kenyatta's term is almost coming to an end, and come 2022, then will be pushed to an election. The question is, how set are we, especially at this point when, again, the IEBC complains that they've not been able to hit the target expected, about 7 million, 6 million thereabout. They are now less by far in terms of the new voters that have registered, and the courts equally declaring that there needs to be an extension. But just how much will the extension come in handy to make sure that, well, those who have not registered then will take up the challenge and register? This is technically what we'll be discussing this morning as we look at the adjustments that are set to happen come 2022. The likes of Right Honorable Raila Odinga and their wish to have ODM join Jubilee, and as they form a coalition, and most importantly, that push of the likes of One Kenya Alliance leaders towards supporting Right Honorable Raila Odinga's bid. As they would say, enough is enough. They will not play second fiddle. It's important that they go for the big position. But well, it's a question of wait and see, as they would say. In politics, one day is like a million years, and therefore the day is still young, as one would want to put it. And in studio with me, Daniel Orogo, governance expert, who's seated right next to me. If at all we are having white, so at least he can capture him. And right next to Daniel is Keino Dora, political analyst. We have Solomon Kuria, political analyst, and governance expert Kevin Osido. The people from Siaya County are governance experts. I know that is just a by the way. That is just a by the way. But it's a pleasure to have you, lady and gentlemen.
We try to help the government.
Oh yeah, and they tell me it's the cabinet in waiting. Yeah. Oh, the best. Young faces, for that matter. Yeah. If there's a person who's advocated for the young persons to be on the table and not on the menu, it has to be Solomon Kuria. Yes. And how far are we in this bid?
So far so good. At least for the first time you're having that conversation. We are not waiting to be told what to do, where to go, what to wait for. We are actually setting the debate. We are setting the agenda, the narrative, and we are doing what we should have done so many years ago.
But is it in unity? And I know you want to continue on this, but is it on the aspect of unity? Are we coming together as, young people who are, under one banner? Because the other time I said, and most of the times you've heard this, is youths from Siaya, youths from the Mount Kenya, youths from I don't know what particular region. What are the likelihoods then that we are going to be successful on this board or in this bid in the event that we go it, with our very own interests based on region?
Yeah, of course, when it comes to the side you are pulling from, you must be united. Whether you are supporting the deputy president who is vying for presidency, or Raila Amolo Odinga is also doing the same. So if you choose to stick with one of them, then make sure that before they become whatever they want to become, they have your issues at heart. And they have promised, not only promised, they are committed to ensuring that whatever the issues, the grievances you have presented before them, they have committed that they are going to fulfill them. Because that is what has been lacking. And if you look keenly, the engagements the president had in 2013 before he became president, If you look, the engagements he had with the young people, the women, most of those issues have been achieved, and those which have not been achieved are in the pipeline. So it's good to present your issues before, but also it's good to choose whoever you're presenting the issues to, because some will lie to you in broad daylight. They will tell you things that even yourself know cannot be achieved, but they'll sweet talk you, tell you this is possible, we're going to bring this money here and there, and they also know it will not happen. So realistically, as young people, we have been trying to come up with a blueprint for the young people. These are, you know, the key issues we want you to address when you become the president. And in this case, in broad daylight, you have presented your issues to Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Is that to say then he's your preferred candidate? So far, he is my preferred candidate. With all the promises that he's given Daniel Orogo, do you suppose then there's anything for the youth, there's anything tangible, in as much as Right Honorable Raila Odinga has not declared his bid just yet?
Well, I think good morning once again. Linda, sometimes I think we put matters into context, and I always begin by acknowledging and referring back to history, because it's a good teacher to refer back to. I literally can tell you that if you are a student of history and you read through all, you know, political achievements and democratic gains in the country had been achieved by youth who were given an opportunity, you know, to lead the country, be it independence, and we are talking about people like Tom Mboya, right. You know, Mwai Kibaki, by that time at his age, and Tom Mboya wrote such an old paper that we are still referring at economic blueprint in this country. Post-independence, we are seeing leaders, clamor for multi-party, including Raila Odinga as a youth by that time. Why? Because the system, the organ by that time gave them a full opportunity to harness their potential as young politicians. Unfortunately, and to be realistic, what we are seeing right now is more of tokenism. You know, young people are called to engage, but from a point of token. You know, and these I say across board, across political party formations, Linda. All these political parties are inviting youth to have a token of appreciation. If you are having a conversation with youth and you are proposing, not even committing in writing, that you're going to offer 4 cabinet positions for the youth, that is not documented. That is a declaration made in a political party or a political function. So I always agree with my friend Osido here, that every time there is a political engagement, the need to have a social contract that is well documented, well stipulated. Because at that point then you can hold the political leaders accountable based on an agreement that was made that is documented. And so when we refer to 2013, 2017, the only thing young people cannot critically follow up on, because it was not documented and it was not signed. And this is the basis of short change. But I see the kind of political discussion taking that shape again. That young people are called on a town hall, declarations are made, and people, you know, happy, and they clap hands and they make deals, and after that they walk out. And years down the line, they cannot hold that kind of promise accountable. So it's a cycle that keeps on going on. So for me, I will not really agree and advocate for an engagement that is not structural for young people in this country. But let's also not blame politicians. What is this constituency called youth in this country? What do youth want? Who is a youth in this country that is, you know, divided in ethnicity but united in crime? So I think it's important for us as young people, and not youth at heart, but youth at age, constitutionally defined who a young person is. Then you are able to bargain based on your democratic strength, based on your, you know, in what is stipulated in the Constitution, and based in what is documented. I submit that this is my own view about these things.
Doria, as you come in on that very note, and I doubt there is any moment where, you know, such arrangements would be made and not documented in most cases. But just what is always the goodwill towards making sure that then this that is documented is implemented for that matter. And even as it's documented, the realistic aspect of it, as to what Solomon said, that, you know, it's all right. I mean, we can speak of anything and everything and document anything and everything, but just how realistic is it for us to be able to implement some of these things that we speak of?
Thank you, Linda. Thank you for welcoming me to this platform.
Right.
Okay, I want to argue my points on this. If some promises made to the youth are documented, how are they going to be implemented? And are they realistic? Because you find these political aspirants, mostly the presidentials, promising the youth that they will give us some token. Most of us are jobless, so they're trying to woo us into their political camps by giving us some tokens and saying that every jobless youth will be given some certain amount of money to run his or her own errands. But is it realistic? Is this country so rich to give everybody who is not working some certain amount of money? So we want to see political aspirants, mostly the presidential, giving us realistic promises. When the youth of this country sits down and see, is this thing going to be implemented and is it going to be achieved? So what I'm trying to say is that let the youth of this country come together and try to see the political aspirants who are going to give us things which we can use and benefit ourselves. Things, maybe opportunities, not tokens. Yes.
All right, it's interesting, and I want to shelve this conversation from that very note because it's not what we're speaking of. I know you'd want to say something about it, but all the same, you know, the question is, why is it that we're talking about youths being given as opposed to youths being there to actually give, to dish out? And, you know, we still are talking of the oldies. Who's the youngest that we have today that is indeed a formidable, you know, a presidential contender? Or we are getting to times where we speak like the likes of Zimbabweans, you know, when they say that Chamisa is extremely too young and not mature for politics. Is there a youth who's, you know, super young and, you know, would not be mature for politics? And I mean, just how huge is age on the aspect of presidency in the country?
See, Linda, one of the mistakes that we have made is to go back to the Constitution of Kenya 2010, where power was domiciled in one particular position.
Yeah.
And people probably thought that if we have the presidency or if we are part of the presidency, then we are much more better than the other parts of the other country or other people who are not in the presidency. And so we have forgotten to look at county governments. And this conversation has continued to be propagated and propelled because probably it's the challenges that Kenyans go through in terms of making their voices count.
Yeah.
So much such that if you look at the spaces that have been opened through county governments, maybe people still do not feel that they really need to be part of those very close decision-making platforms.
Yeah.
But we need to therefore begin to emphasize on successes of devolution so that we ask the same question that you are asking me, how many young people want to be governors for their counties? How many young people want to be senators for their counties?
Right.
How many people want to be MCAs for their county assemblies?
Right.
You know, because at that level, that is where resources are actually being, rather decisions about distribution of resources are being made. It is no longer at the presidency. But if you look at how people have made the presidency look like, it is probably seen to be, you know, coined in a manner in which if you're not part of the presidency or the presidential team, then you're not helping anyone. And that has really been propelled by even our some of the sitting and outgoing governors, where they have also made decisions to either support this presidential candidate or not support the other one. Now, that, in my way of looking at it, is such a big mistake, because we have to insist that devolved governments are also given the prime of discussions and the prime in conversations in the same way and nature in which we are emphasizing the presidency of this republic. But having said that, the reason why we probably do not have young people, you know, I know that there are already 4 young people under 35. In fact, the latest I met on Friday last week is a 22-year-old gentleman from Homa Bay. who wants to be a president of this country.
But now let's also be honest with each other. I mean, 22.
You see, Linda, it is. Linda, it is.
You tell me whether it's possible. That's why I'm asking.
The challenge we have is purely mentorship.
Okay.
Who has Raila Odinga mentored? You know, and we keep talking about this issue. Who has Mheshimiwa William Ruto mentored? You know, nobody. And if you see, for the two gentlemen who are the biggest protagonists in this particular race, their interest is me, myself, and I. And that is why, for me, people like Solomon Kuria, who want to move closer to the decision-making table, whether the issues are documented or not, is neither here nor there. Because the fact that it is on YouTube, the fact that it is on TV stations, that is documentation already. It doesn't have to be written and signed.
All right.
But that therefore means that we have to move further and begin to ask the question around how do we enhance and sustain those conversations? Because if you look at the spaces for young people in a Raila Odinga government, I will tell you that it is this slim. Because the degree, and that also includes a William Ruto government, if he ever ascends to be president of this country. Because if you look at the interests that are playing around the table, they are interests that are not for the youth. They are interests that are for the people who have made it from their generations.
The Jubilee Party, and I will say that Deputy President William Ruto is still part of the Jubilee Party. And this is based on what Solomon has told me.
They threatened to push him out yesterday.
Solomon will tell us because he's part of this party. This is based on what Solomon has told me, based on what I have heard from Zach. And according to him, according to them, there's been so much, openness of the youths being involved in, the formation of the Jubilee Party. And even when they wanted to confirm to us that the Jubilee Party is still on, they said that them as the youth of the Jubilee Party are crafting, so much more that they're going to present to us in the near future. And therefore, would it be fair to say that Jubilee then has played a huge part in terms of making sure that the youths and the young ones are actually allowed in the space of politics, in as much as the face that we see today is not that of the youth?
Let me say, for the first time since the introduction of the positions of the CASs in this country, we have around 7 who are young. 7 of them, close to the cabinet level. And let me say, it is not right to say that the resources are with the counties. No. If you look at what counties are allocated today, you divide that into 2: development and recurrent expenditure. Actually, most of the governors say almost 70-80% is recurrent expenditure. Then 30% or below 30 is on development. So money is still at the national level. The resources are still at the national level. And if you want issues of the young people addressed in this country, you must give them an opportunity to lead, to come up with policies. You see, if you hold just one position in the cabinet, you are able to influence a policy that can affect or uplift the livelihoods of millions of young people. Take, for instance, someone who whispered to Mwai Kibaki and told him, you see, you have about 3 million or 4 million young people who are not employed. And here, the cost of a motorbike is about 250,000. Can you get rid of this custom duty on motorbikes and allow, imports? So today, we have about 1.5 million young people who own motorbikes. Just by a stroke of a pen, one policy, and that was done. So if you are not there, your issues are likely not to be heard.
Okay.
Because as Mswahili says, asiyekuwepo na lake halipo. So we want that at the highest decision-making organ. That is the cabinet. Let us be there. When these people are discussing these policies, do they really know what it means? We need someone who knows what it really means to be there. The 7 who've been there have done us justice? That is, a CS, to me, is still not so much impactful. Right. Having in mind that they don't even have budgetary allocations, because they are not ministers. they're not, it's not so well structured. So the best is a cabinet secretary position. And I'm not saying that all of us can fit there. No, we have to get it. When we say we are jobless and we all cannot fit there, I'm saying if one is there and it is the right person with the right issues affecting the young people at heart, that person is going to bring change. And
in Jubilee, the space has been open?
I believe now they are opening up. Initially, it was an issue.
That is
until
not what
now.
You've told me
you
before.
You remember by the time the president was appointing the CASs, by that time there was a lot of noise. That you see, young people participated in forming this government, but they are not there. The president heard the cry. The other day we talked about the CRB. I remember addressing that issue at Safari Park. And he responded, you know, and said, between this time and this time, do not blacklist anyone who is below 5 million.
You want to counter that?
And
no, really counter. Has it been effected?
No. Okay. You see, whether it is effected or not, it has been mentioned. So what we have now is a follow-up. Initially, we were nowhere. You see, we made the president make that pronouncement and say we no longer need young people to be blacklisted. So I can say Jubilee, yes, not to the best of our expectations, but Jubilee party has tried, Jubilee government has tried to mentor young people. Remember, these people who are CSs today, tomorrow, if Public Service Commission announces positions for PSs, they will cite experience, you know? They will cite that bit of them being CSs as part of that forms their experience in government, Linda, and they are going to stand a higher chance. So that is how you mentor.
No, you can come in. It's fine.
Just a minute. Let me finish on this. Let me finish on this, which is very important. But also, young people have to do what he has mentioned. These are appointive positions, which are very, very okay. Very, very good. And if we do not lobby for them, we're not going to get them. But also there are other bigger positions, which involves elections. We need to see young MCAs. We need to see young women members of parliament. We need to see young, you know, senators, young governors. But 22 years old president, for me, I have a problem with that. Definitely, yes.
No, the guy is aspiring. There's no problem.
No, it's good to dream.
I said before that we have a lot in this country that I think probably I didn't expand the word my documentation. What I have said is simply that while you are getting to the mainstream political activities, you make sure that, you know, your presence...
Is the mic on?
Your presence is...
it's on.
Your presence is felt, is congent, and there is a way you can track back how you've been engaged and how, you know, your process, that process can be held accountable. You see, the reason as to why we have 47 women county representatives is because women lobbied, and that was placed in the constitution. There is no negotiation about that in the coming elections or in the successive elections after promulgation of the constitution. So in that sense, whether you like it or not, that 47 position is reserved purely for women. No negotiations about that. When you go to a cabinet secretary, the constitution says that in the constituting of that cabinet secretary, not more than 2/3 should not be of the same gender. There is no negotiation about that because it is in the constitution. But when you're talking about youth, there is nowhere that compels a cabinet position that either not more than 2/3 should represent the youth. But when you go to Article 260, it defines youth, but also compels a government to make sure that there is affirmative action. So the youth, their participation is mentioned, that they are at the mercy of the National Assembly to come up with affirmative actions, which is an ambiguous term. Okay? So in this sense, when we are here talking about young people, their participation, their involvement is at the mercy of those who are holding position if they have a goodwill.
I am tempted to ask, probably
you understand, to represent
the aspect of the 2/3 gender rule that Maraga gave an advisory on. The President Uhuru Kenyatta, well, as Parliament, you've not been able to reach this, or the Parliament has not been able to reach this, and therefore there needs to be, for it to be dissolved. I mean, is that not anchored in law?
Well, that's where I was coming for. That's where I'm coming into. That's what I'm telling you. I am looking at, because you asked us a very fundamental question, and like I said, our purpose here is to inform objectively.
Yeah.
Because the viewers really want to get the real sense, not political wishful thinking.
Yeah.
That's what we are doing here. So that's why I'm saying that for you to be drawn into these positions as youth, because I'm addressing myself, but I'm also addressing the system.
Yeah.
What is that? So when we have that is not implemented, and that is why you see there was a judiciary advisory that is referring back to the Constitution. But you saw, as young people, and this is what I said, as young people, there is nothing, there is no document, there is no legal framework that you can refer back that we have been shortchanging this position, except that which was not properly documented, that you can at least refer it. That you as a presidential candidate, you as a governor aspirant, we sat, we talked, and you put it on paper that 3 months down the line, this is what you'll do concerning the youth. I think that is absence. That is the lacuna that we are talking about. On political parties, you see, if we, and there's numerous reports about young people's participation in political parties, whether they occupy structures, and I've only seen ANC, by the way, who's put a young person as an SG. All these political parties we are talking about being youthful at heart. And ODM, Sifuna is youthful. Youthful someone. There is a debate about whether he's young or youthful at heart. But at least there's been a stride that ANC has tried. I'm not saying because I am a member of ANC, but at least you can see that that has been infected even in the structures. But what about other political parties? And I'm just saying, even at that level of party organs. That level of National Management Committee, that level of National Executive Committee, that level of, where you take charge of the National Delegates Conference. But let me conclude by saying, whatever we are doing right now is good. If we are called to put our positions before the presidential candidates in Safari Park, we say it very well. This is the need of young people. We want them, your excellencies and all this. But I'm asking, where will you get the excellencies to hold them accountable based on the agreement that you made?
There has to be something that, of course, binds that conversation. Now, coming to you, Dora, and now that we shift gears briefly, just to pick on what it is that the gentlemen have spoken about. You said about the DP, and they said that Jubilee Party wanted to root the DP out. You've spoken about Secretary Generals, and we're now talking about Tuju, who there's been a conversation of rooting him out. Let's go to Jubilee Party and the fact that they say that they want to set up, an NDC meeting or conference for the longest of time. This has not happened. Then is a possibility purge that is likely to play out in there. And above everything, a conversation on a collision between Jubilee and ODM. And if it escalates further, One Kenya Alliance then will be incorporated on this. What do you make of this move, and what do you make of the aspect of youthful leaders, on positions that really count?
Okay, thank you, Linda. I want to correct my friend Daniel. He's saying ANC is the only party who has incorporated the youth. But I also see UDA as a party who has given the youth a voice in this country, because we have the executive director of the party as a youth. He's not only a youth at heart, but he's also young. He's below 35 years old. So he's not somehow youth, but he's a youth. And as an executive director of a party runs day in to day activities of the party. So that is a very big position. And the youth of this country are seeing something in UDA because of that. So it is not only ANC but also UDA. Coming to the Jubilee Party, William Ruto is also a member of the Jubilee Party. Sorry.
He's also the UDA at large.
No, he's not. No, he's not a member of the UDA Party, because he is not resigned. He's still a member of the Jubilee Party.
Right.
And he's the deputy party leader of Jubilee. And Uhuru Kenyatta is the party leader. So there is no way Uhuru Kenyatta will do away with William Ruto and their core members of the Jubilee Party.
Okay.
If he wants to do away with William Ruto as a deputy party leader of Jubilee, then he's doing away with him as the deputy president of this country. And it is not allowed constitutionally. So there in Jubilee, we are waiting for them to do the NDC delegates, and we are waiting for Tuju to act on that. If he acts on that, then the presidency of this country has been tampered with.
Okay.
Yeah. So
there you go.
My friend Solomon here.
What are we expecting? What are we expecting on this, meeting, so to speak? Is it really hugely about the purge, or generally about forging the way forward for the party?
I believe it's about forging the way forward. Nobody is interested with removing the deputy president from his position. Nobody is really interested. What we want is to move with people who are helping the party grow.
Okay.
Deputy President left the party a long time ago. He is the party leader of the UDA. And that is everywhere else. You have heard him popularizing his slogans, kazi ndi kazi and the rest. And the slogan for Jubilee party is tuko pamoja. Right. So the guy left. So I think it's time now we look for other partners who will help the party.
Could that be ground enough for an impeachment conversation to be instigated?
It's something that I would not really advocate for. That is my...
but does it hold ground?
That's my personal opinion. But if the party resolves that, to do that, then I would still support. But I really think it's time we focus on the next phase of government. Is this party going to be there? If it's going to be there, then how will it be? How strong will the party be? Who will be the partners? Okay. If you're likely to be in a coalition, with who? So do we still count on a deputy party leader who runs another political party? So I think it's long overdue. This is something we have been calling for. We even wrote to the highest organs of the party, asking them not to chase away the deputy president from the party, because he is using the same members of parliament, sponsored and elected through the party's ticket, to run another political party, and therefore sabotaging the existing Jubilee party. But I don't know why sometimes it takes too long to happen, but finally it will happen. The wrong members of parliament will be chased away from the party, and I think also the deputy party leader.
Okay.
And I think,
yeah.
And I think the consequences of that, you see also by February. I think by the time you're getting to February, there is not much.
Yes, there's not much you can do, right?
Even if a member of parliament resigns from this party and joins this, it is 6 months to the general election. There's not much, and we are actually 2 months away from that. So I think it's about what you have mentioned, the way forward, not about dealing with the individuals.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. The possible coalitions that we speak of today. Dan, I'll reserve this question on whether Musalia should shelve his interest for BABA. For you, but coming to you, Osido, on the conversation of coalition and a possible one between Jubilee and ODM, and most probably One Kenya Alliance. What will that speak to us as we forge forward in terms of waiting for what will play out in 2022?
Nothing much, because from 2018 we have seen ODM and Jubilee working together. We no longer have an opposition in this country, because the party that was expected to be the opposition has joined the government, and from insinuation and attitude and the different activities that are being propelled by either sides, it's clear that the handshake brought in a very amicable context for ODM and Jubilee to work together, because failure to which we probably would not have seen a lot of successes of the Jubilee government, because you have a president who is under siege by his deputy, a gentleman who has said he cannot listen to his boss. In public rally, he will say, my boss, but in practice and principle, it's the opposite. And so you also want to see a very strong opposition leader in the name of Raila Odinga, who is calling mandamanos every Wednesday, because certain things are not working very well for for the government. And so as a president, you really do not want to be fixed in between that kind of a very hard place. So what you do is to bring in alliances, which is purely what we're also seeing with the coalition talks that are going on, particularly between ODM and Jubilee, and that is a winning ticket. Even the deputy president, I don't think he can surmount. I don't think he can surmount a merger between Jubilee and ODM. Why do I say so? I say so because one of the main reasons why ODM is working with the government, I know that in the last week, even UDA members have been saying, why is government sponsoring somebody in the opposition, you know? But it's not sponsorship because Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga has been running for presidency.
Yeah.
And one of the main challenges, if you do the analysis of how you get, you know, how you run for government and then get sworn in, one of the things that he has picked out as the biggest challenge is the fact that he wins and the state, quote unquote, steals, quote unquote, that election.
Yeah.
And so he has chosen to go in and find out, why do I always win? And this this win is stolen. And so the best thing to do if you are a very formidable force that wants to engage with your opponent is to walk in, like we are told by Robert Greene.
And work with the state.
You walk in and you find out how can we be able to work together. And if you look at the challenges of this country, is challenges that draw largely from Uhuru Kenyatta, from his family, Raila Odinga, from his family. And that is purely based on the history of our politics, in the sense that if you look at the manner in which democracy was founded in this country, Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga's father, Jaramogi, played a very critical role.
Yeah.
The president's father, the late founding president, also played a very critical role. For us to move into what Solomon calls the way forward, we will have to stop and ask ourselves, why are these so many of these things we are working on not working for us? And I am sure that that is what the former prime minister and the president are doing. And so if that future can be taken over by a merger between Jubilee and ODM, why not? But then the question is, what is the space of the larger citizenry in that particular arrangement?
Right.
And that is why when I spoke about the space of young people, for me, the youth, even if you were to give them a cabinet post, Linda, it is not going to work.
Oh, yeah?
We have to, as young people, organize ourselves and not wait to be organized. We have to begin to ask ourselves, even if we had that one person, you know, as a cabinet secretary, will the government of Jubilee and ODM guarantee the over 3.8 million young people who are waiting for jobs? The job losses, the companies that have been closed, you know, in this country because of COVID-19, will one cabinet position of a 26 or a 35-year-old young person
really
guarantee? Then cabinet portfolios, because there is no president who, as we talk about this 22-year-old gentleman who wants to be president, for example, there is no president who might gain that lots of respect and confidence in giving you a very high volume, high voltage, high profiled cabinet portfolio if you cannot be able to show what you have done as a young person, because you will not be trusted with, say, for instance, defense. You won't be trusted with foreign affairs. You won't be trusted with finance. You will not be trusted with security and interior. Tell me which country all over the world has given those kind of portfolios to this one person who is supposed to cure all the youth problems in the country. So that for me is a conversation around for which even the youth should be thinking about, those who are in ODM and also those who are in Jubilee and all the other parties. All these coalition talks, do they also consider having different conversations around creating alliances among themselves as young people? Because what I see happening today is matusi kwa mtandao, you know. This youth is throwing to that youth and is sharing there, and they are screenshotting them and sending them to their bosses. And ultimately you realize that nothing is really going on for these young people. So for me, the mergers, whether it's for ODM and Jubilee, which is a good thing because Raila, the president, is retiring, and by constitution he cannot run again. So if he has a feeling that his legacy can actually be carried forward by the former president, why not?
All right, and we'll speak about trust and the legacy of the president in a few, but not before we get to hear the view of Dan on whether Musalia Mudavadi should shelve his interest for, presidency, or that is for the likes of Right Honorable Raila Odinga and also the One Kenya Alliance at large. And speaking of which, again, we asked just what will President Uhuru Kenyatta bring on the table if at all there's going to be an alliance, when questions are there as to whether he's losing his grip on power based on the defection that we've seen of key leaders that have been allied to him and crossing over to other quarters. So we take a quick break and we come back to respond on that.
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, you found me 5 minutes before I started recording. But anyway, so most of you have been asking me why I started Lady CLC 19 with Joy Rongo. I have also had my own share of pain. I know how it feels to want to give up. This is basically here to speak hope and inspire somebody who's going through a rough patch, to tell them that they can turn their pain into power. Our guests are normally here to share their experiences so that you can know somebody else did it, so you can also come out of it stronger and better. Let me go to my recording, and remember to always stay tuned every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Undertaking husband duties on a boyfriend tender.
Guys, with bromance, do you share your woman with the bro?
Have a sister, give me your sister. I show you how these things are done.
So you go release and be like,
Men supporting each other, not only financially, but also socially.
Don't mingle with women you can't deal with.
Is there really a formula for dating and marriage?
Some men are procreational, some men are recreational.
Every Wednesday on TV47, the Men's Conference brings you a cocktail of top-notch advice to breed alpha males for alpha females in the society.
Unaweza tumia hii tenje tutesiwe do.
Here with me, Daniel Orogo, Solomon Kuria, Kevin Osido, and Kane Odora as we get to the conversation on What's Way 2022. And Dan, I come to you. One, does Mudavadi shelve his interest? It looks like the pressure is real mounting on him. And it's not just Mudavadi. I mean, I'm sure it's, the entire One Kenya Alliance.
Sure. So I wonder why pressure should be piled on Mudavadi and
you tell us
the principles of One Kenya Alliance. I am of the opinion that these my party leader should proceed and launch his proper campaign bid, have well-laid structure that we're working on, and proceed to the ballot. Regardless of whether he does it alone or has coalition partners, that still stays with him. And when I was asked about this, I wrote back and said, we have a history to refer to. We have a history that happened in 2013.
Okay.
And he's the same Musalia Mudavadi. He's the same Uhuru Kenyatta, who rose up and called him a demon. He is the same other principles that still exist. So I have the opinion, and I said the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi should proceed, galvanize his strongholds, concretize his zones, and proceed to the ballot. Because I am of the opinion that elections, and the constitutional elections and a democracy like we have in Kenya, is people that go to the ballot and decide the outcome of election. And yesterday I said in a different platform that no one can purport to manage succession. We have a constitution in this country that gives a supreme power to the people of Kenya to either represent direct or indirectly. Go to the ballot and cast. The outcome of elections are democratic outcome of elections. And regardless of where it goes, then we will accept the outcome. But it should not be compelled to negotiate for a democracy
Okay.
on the conference halls and appear for auditions in town hall meetings and in hotels. So that is my position. So I think when I was asked, I gave my opinion to the party leader. So when he and the highest, party organ, that is the NDC, would want to hear our opinions on this, that is okay. But we have made our position known that as a youth and as a youth league in the party and as members who are instructed in, being in the government, he should proceed and run for.
I don't want to appear as though I challenge the capability.
So that, you don't have to feel every presidential candidate, his capability has been challenged.
One is asking
not
how
be
much
an
of a
exemption.
crowd can Musalia Mudavadi pull without Right Honorable Raila Odinga. I know they celebrate what happened in Githurai, but again, someone says Githurai is always filled up with people, so you can't get excited over that.
Yeah. So Linda, this is what I've said, and I would really, as every strategy, people are working on strategy and a winning coalition all over.
Yeah.
And as we speak and looking at the participation of voter registration outcome, I can assure you that no one can easily brag. No presidential candidate can easily brag that he can have, the first round win. And I'm telling you this for a fact.
Yeah.
Form coalitions, have agreements, have your opinions there, go campaign. But I can guarantee you that at his goals, except on some circumstances, no one can brag about it. And that's why you're asking me, why is the pressure coming in so that he supports somebody? Because it's the realization.
Yes.
It's the realization that if these voting constituencies are not galvanized, it is not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed that any of these candidates can have it. Let me say something about this briefly about what my two colleagues have talked about. Linda, I am always on set saying that we must uphold constitutionalism at every point. We cannot have a deputy president who is a deputy party leader and purports to have and front philosophy of a different political party. But we still come back and say, but he's still a member of Jubilee. But he's still a party leader of, a deputy party leader of Jubilee. And I said this last time here. The precedents that we set in this country for young people and the generation to go is that you can just violate Political Parties Act, and you just still go away with it. Because somebody has set a pace on doing that. The deputy president of Republic of Kenya is a party leader of UDA. And in that sense, he must resign from Jubilee Party and front an idea of UDA, or be forced out of Jubilee Party by the National Delegates Conference because he's a member of a different party. But again, if I hear my friend Kuria saying that, I wrote to the political party not to, I mean, what kind of confusion is this?
All right, Dora, come in defense of your party leader. I don't know whether you are in UDA, but it sounded like so.
Okay, I'm not in UDA.
But you said, we are, at that point you said we are. I was convinced that you are.
Okay, for real, I'm a UDA member. Yeah, I belong to the UDA, but a registered member of UDA.
Right.
Yeah, so I think Uhuru Kenyatta is meddling with the party leadership of Jubilee.
But why?
That is why he's losing the grip of the Mount Kenya votes. Because he wants to enforce and compel people to support Raila Amolo Odinga, which people are not so much into terms. He's been painting Raila Amolo Odinga red. Now he wants to paint him white. Is it really possible?
Has he evidently done that? Like in
he used to say in 2017, this is a Muganga, this is a Mchawi.
No, I'm asking, has he evidently compelled people to come out and support the right?
Yeah, that is why he's threatening Kina Waiguru for coming to UDA.
All right.
Yeah, he's sending the ESCC
Have they been
members.
threatened as such?
That is threat.
The ESCC got into this case even before the conversation of Waiguru shifting to this other side. At some point in time, we have seen the Senate, and it was probably in broad daylight that the Senate saved Waiguru because she was allied to this other particular side.
The handshake.
And right from that, the ESCC then took up the case. How can you say that at this particular point, it's the president that has sent the ESCC to do so, yet it is an investigative agent or agency or body that is mandated to do that? And at this point, if they have finished their mandate, or they have done their investigation investigations that have gotten to this point where, well, there is reasonable, reasons as to why they should proceed and incriminate Anne Waiguru. Why should they not do it just because there's fear that they will be looked at as, agencies that are being sent by the president to hunt on Waiguru for shifting to this other side?
We can really say evidently that the president is sending the EACC guys, because why is it now that when Waiguru came to the
what would have been the most appropriate time when we are talking about investigations, and then at this point, coincidentally, you are done with the investigations? What are you supposed to do? Shelve that for a moment just because it doesn't augur well with the people?
But he's been following up with Waiguru. There's been cases of Waiguru's grafts. And why is it now that when she's in for the UDA party, now is the verdict?
Okay.
Yeah, why is it being read now and not last month or the other months?
Right.
Why is it now when she came to the current mansion and she was given a yellow cap?
Looking at the case and looking at the conversation and what it is that EACC presents, do you suppose that there is political witch hunt, or there's some genuineness in what it is that they have conducted as investigations?
It is a political witch hunt.
What makes you say that?
Because why now?
The timings and all that?
Why now?
What about the facts that are being presented?
Were they not facts before?
I mean, investigation processes are not, these are investigation processes that take a while.
The president has not been giving the judiciary some independence.
Okay.
So he's running with the judiciary, has his own house.
But EACC is not a part of the judiciary.
Even the EACC, the DPP, the EACC are working under Huru's duress.
Is it so?
Yes.
Solomon.
I think the best question you're asking is not being answered. What about the facts? Whether it is UDA or EACC or working at a duress, the fact is money has been lost. And I believe the boss told her to stop catwalking on us when money has been lost. Tell us where the money is. Whether you catwalk or not, we don't care. But bring us the money.
Yeah.
Na kuongea Kiingereza
mingi.
Na kuongea Kiingereza mingi.
Why is it now?
And you see, whether you're talking about the past,
timings.
you're talking about the past.
Yes.
And I'm telling you what they said in the past.
In the past.
They said in the past. I have
what has changed?
Murkomen saying that if Waiguru will not be arrested and taken to court, then corruption should be legalized.
Right.
That is Murkomen.
Yes.
Then William said, stop catwalking on us, bring back our money. So going back to the past, Waiguru has still a case to answer. Coming to the present, she still has cases to answer. Whether in UDA or Jubilee or ODM or independent. Are we together?
Right.
So let me now come to something you asked Daniel, and all of a sudden his confidence and oomph disappeared. You asked him about whether Mudavadi
should shelve.
You really needed to see how Daniel struggled to explain how strong Mudavadi is.
I didn't struggle.
You didn't struggle at all.
You see, I was confident.
All right.
But immediately when he switched to now William leaving Jubilee, and then the
oomph is there.
Came back. Because you see, Mudavadi has not been able to deal with Atwoli and Oparanya.
Right.
To now go forward and deal with presidency. You see, charity begins at home.
Okay.
Whether we speak beautiful English or what, politics in Kenya are local. And you have to begin
back at home
with your tribesmen. Form your own house, put it in order, come out.
And do you think Mudavadi is not the kingpin of Western?
No.
He's not.
In fact, do your own due diligence and find out.
Who is actually?
Yes. In fact, right now, the man calling the shots is Atwoli. And I'll tell you this.
But Atwoli is not on the, is not,
let me tell you, let me tell you why.
Okay.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
All these guys sitting here know that in politics, it's about two things. One is influence and number two is money.
Yes.
Are we together? And in fact, any presidential aspirant tells you, if you have money to campaign, you are one step, you are 50% in. So the other 50%, whether it will go up or down, depends on whether you have the influence.
Okay.
Are we together? But if you have money first, you are in. You see, Atwoli doesn't come to you to support you with an empty mouth.
There's money on the board.
Like Senator Cleophas Malala would do to Mudavadi. Atwoli will come with influence and resources.
Hold it right
again,
there.
Oparanya, who is serving in second term, is not with the Mudavadi.
Yes.
Another person from Western, who is the party leader of Ford Kenya, Wetangula, is not also with Mudavadi because he is also pushing his own agenda. Tell me in Western Kenya who supports Mudavadi.
Then of what interest would this inner circle that we hear about have in terms of going to Mudavadi if really he's not a person who holds...
Lina, there's something called optics.
You asked about
see, let me finish. It is my time.
Okay, yeah, the pressure actually that is mounted on him. It's still there.
You want us to
Yes.
Let me finish.
discuss this
Okay.
people.
I'm
Even
not yet
Uhuru
done.
Kenyatta is struggling
All
in his
right,
back.
I mean, they're saying that. All right.
You see, let me say this. There's something called optics. Are we together?
Right.
That is how Rachel Omar
Being as the CS.
but she could not even hold a baraza, in Luo Nyanza between 2013 and 2017. Because yes, she's a Luo from Nyanza, a cabinet secretary, but the region was with Raila.
The money has been poured. Money has been poured. Hold it. Money has been poured, and also the heavens do not want you to continue with this conversation. They're fixing your mic. Let somebody else.
Now I see.
Linda,
Yes, Kevin.
I am actually struggling because we began this conversation with making the voices of young people count.
Right.
But if you listen to the conversation we are having right now, there is no mention of youth.
The excitement is about the oldies.
Which is why I said that unless vijana wajipangi, wataendelea kupangwa.
All right.
Mr. Orogo, who is my very good friend, has to be very candid in terms of responding to the space of youth in a Musalia Mudavadi government. Because the reason why he is struggling is a struggle that the youth continue to have every single day. And I'm not in the struggle. I hear there's something called strugglers movement. I'm just using struggle to show what people go through every day.
Right.
The reason why Musalia Mudavadi will not be a presidential candidate, well, by constitutional, he can be a president candidate because anybody can. He
is, Kevin.
That's what I'm saying. by constitution.
Yeah, by constitution.
But the politics on the ground, this thing we are calling politics, which is local, the reality of Siasa is that he still has a lot to do in terms of playing second fiddle.
Okay.
Running for office of the President of the Republic of Kenya is not just something you hold a microphone and you say. You must be ready. You must be capable. And the people must have some confidence in you. Put Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga and Musalia Mudavadi in Vihiga County. Then ask people to go behind the people that you want to, like Amlolongo. If we can do that, then I'll tell you why the pressure is being mounted on Musalia, the former vice president, to play second fiddle. That's one, number one. Number two, it is obvious, as Daniel rightfully said, nobody will be able to have a first round win. 50% plus one, no one, including Raila Odinga. So when it comes to the numbers, because in Kenya, politics is really based on the baskets of people in terms of votes that you bring on board. Bring in Kalonzo Musyoka. Are we saying that Kalonzo's eastern votes will be much more bigger than Musalia's western votes? Where in fact, Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga walks in and he splits. In fact, he gets more than what Musalia Mudavadi can get from Western
region. Okay.
Kalonzo Musyoka, the former
it's okay. I mean,
vice president. No, these are facts.
All right. Okay.
Let's do
you Kevin. Sorry. The question was directed and asked, why is the pressure?
But you are struggling.
Why is the pressure? Why is the pressure mounting on Honorable Musalia Mudavadi? I wish Linda would have asked, what is the optics of a Musalia president? You asked very clearly on a direct question. That is so. The question was focused much on external factors that are piling pressure on Musalia Mudavadi to play a second fiddle. And that's why I'm telling you why there is an external pressure coming in. And from the State House for him to support Raila Odinga. So the question that my colleagues are twisting and asking, then what is...
Linda, this is the reality.
What is the option? Because I believe if...
With due respect, let me just, let me inform.
Yes.
The president is aware that neither William Ruto, the deputy president, nor Raila Odinga will have a fast win on the presidency. So he has moved over.
Wisdom dictates that
exactly. He has moved over into looking at that runoff. And that is why he keeps telling the Oka and all these other people, musipofanya kazi pamoja, hii kitu itaponyoka, because he already knows that his deputy is working on dividing, you know, this block that he is interested in as a president. And he's already preparing them to each of them be able to play second fiddles. Mheshimiwa Musalia is still adamant. Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka said, mimi hata sina shida. You see, and that has been his story, which is why over the years he always is picked.
But as well, he said, again, long gone are the days where they're going to play second fiddle. I mean, he's also going for it.
The position is only one. There can only be one president.
Yes, there can only be one, which they said, the One Kenya Alliance then said, they're going to tell us who's their preferred presidential candidate. In how many weeks? 7 weeks or thereabouts?
I think that should be said. But Linda, you know, my problem is, and I think while Osido is asking me to be very candid, and this is why I say this, that the question is, why Musalia? Why not Kalonzo? Why not Wetangula or anybody, or Gideon Moy on this? And this is why I'm saying that from where we sit, and we've said this very well, that we acknowledge there is a background issue. And this is what we are telling Musalia every time. There is something to sort in Mululu, always and always, about people who are, you know, trying to overtake and make sure that they are the kingpins of that region. And by the way, you asked here very well, and unfortunately, Solomon Kuria answered that is Atwoli, which is not is just abstract. But it's the same Atwoli that last year, right, endorsed who to be the most popular? Endorsed Musalia, right?
But he didn't
yes, he endorsed Musalia as the most, and his position hasn't changed. He hasn't said, you know, I am recanting my previous endorsement. He still say so. Briefly, what I'm saying is that the pressure shouldn't be piled on Musalia Mudavadi. He said he's going to the ballot. Whether there are optics of a runoff or whether there are optics of a presidential rerun, that will be a debate when it reaches there. But for us as a party, we've said that we are not playing the second fiddle neither to Raila, neither to other coalition partners, neither to anybody.
But Linda,
move to the ballot.
Let's allow Dora come in briefly. In all this, and then we come to you, Solomon, it appears as though there's so much fear. It appears, I repeat, so much fear of your preferred presidential candidate.
Why?
You tell us. Because, I mean, if people are coming together just so they would beat him, you know, as early as 6 a.m. in the morning, then he must be a force to reckon with.
Yeah, he's a force to reckon with. He doesn't give up. He says he has no space to surrender.
But in this space of coalitions, why is it that he does not appear to be interested in having other parties coming in so that they can form a coalition?
For now, he says that he doesn't want any coalition.
But why?
UDA is a national party. Why should you involve other parties, small parties from different communities?
Are we talking about, we're talking about making sure that, you know, you have the numbers right, the 50+1.
But he has the numbers.
Does he?
Yeah, he has. Right now, the cases are...
Based on what? The crowds that he pulls when he has rallies?
Not really the crowds, because anyone can do it, except Musalia Mudavadi and Gideon Moi.
Yeah.
I think Raila and William can pull so much crowds, but Musalia can't.
You know, you're being asked about your party leader.
But then
if he is able to marshal the numbers that are required. But instead of answering where he's getting the numbers, he's rather to shift it to Musalia Mudavadi. You know, and this is why Linda said, it is quite interesting. You know, it's quite interesting that every of this, and I am happy. And I'm happy that I am just happy that the discussion is shifting. Instead of focusing on the Railas and the Uhurus and the DPs, the panel is concerned about Musalia Mudavadi. I'm very happy that he's taking that shape. At least there is a conversation about Musalia in the Senate.
What is this one thing that you think sells your preferred presidential candidate to the people, that you can have the confidence that he has the numbers? And now why not sit down and relax, knowing that he has the numbers?
No, why should you sit down and relax and you have to woo more voters?
Maybe if now he has voters are going to come with these other parties that are coming from the sides, why not pick them?
He won't pick the small community parties.
Why do you consider them small in comparison to the conversation that they have, the hustler conversation? Isn't the hustler conversation about the small?
Because the hustler team has a space for everyone. So
and
if
now,
you join the hustler
why
team,
lock out the small if you have the space for everyone?
you don't come with your party. You just come with your...
You come in and join.
Yeah, you
don't come in and try and
yes,
speak of it. But at a time when people are speaking of their interests,
Linda,
right?
Solomon, can be
met even when
with the party.
All right.
What is it about?
Historically speaking, we understand that when you come with the party, your voice is more heard. You
Not
have
really.
Is it so?
If the party doesn't have the goodwill to deal with your
whether you come as one, whether you come with
parties, whether you come as Dora, and the party wants to.
So in this case, what will be the guarantee that if you come without a party, then it's a sure deal for you that your interests are going to be met?
It's a sure deal because it will be documented.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or like Dad was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, Solomon.
So
Solomon,
I want to say.
Answer me probably. Why is the deputy president still a deputy party of Jubilee party, but is fronting a different agenda, and you wrote to the party and asking the party not to suspend, because that is violation of a political parties act.
You see, that is what happens when you pick the role of the moderator of the debate. I did not say I wrote to the party telling them, asking them not to. I said I had written to them earlier enough to suspend him. Yes, that's what I said. Long time ago. So I said it is long overdue because I had written to them.
There's nothing much that can happen now.
Okay. So that's what I said. Maybe you did not get it.
So we all did not get that right, I think.
Yes. So this is it. I first want to say very candidly, it's my weakness that I'm very honest with my opinions.
You try.
The next government, the main parties in the next government will be Jubilee and ODM. Other partners in the next government will be Wiper, ANC, Ford Kenya, KANU, among others.
Authoritatively, you say that?
Yes.
Why?
This is it. And I want to state, you see, there's still time. Make hay while
the sun shines.
Yes.
Okay.
This dilly-dallying by Mudavadi and Kalonzo may cost one of them. It will cost one of them.
Okay.
It will cost one of them. And I'm saying, actually wrote to Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka and delivered at his party headquarters in Karen and said, right now, you still have your region intact. Move before anyone else makes a move.
Okay.
The position of the Speaker of the National Assembly is still in the offing.
Yes, listen to that.
You see,
you want to reduce him to that level?
No. Let us speak the truth.
Okay.
At least he told you there is only one position of the presidency. And I'm telling you, between Kalonzo and Mudavadi, there is only another one position. Because let us speak the truth. Do you think Mount Kenya will ask for anything less than a running mate?
No.
So if they do that, what else is remaining? And let me say this.
Okay.
We must try to break the ice in this, tension that is there between these candidates. William still wants to come to Mount Kenya and get a running mate. Raila wants to come to Central Kenya and get a running mate. So what is remaining? If we don't tell these people the truth, when the kings are naked, tell them. You're telling Kalonzo to wait for what? Kalonzo will not pull enough votes to be president. That is given. Mudavadi will not. Yeah. So if they have to be in coalition, and my sister, don't interrupt the thought.
Where is the running mate? Where is the running mate from Mount Kenya? Where is he getting the numbers?
No, wait a minute. Let's take a quick break. And then we get extra 10 minutes to really expound further on this. A quick break.
These are the
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, you found me 5 minutes before I started recording. But anyway, so most of you have been asking me why I started Lady CLC 19 with Joy Rongo. I have also had my own share of pain. I know how it feels to want to give up. This is basically here to speak hope and inspire somebody who's going through a rough patch, to tell them that they can turn their pain into power. Our guests are normally here to share their experiences so that you can know somebody else did it, so you can also come out of it stronger and better. Let me go to my recording, and remember to always stay tuned every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Undertaking husband duties on a boyfriend tender.
Guys, with bromance, do you share your woman with the bro?
Have a sister? Give me your sister. I show you how these things are done. So you go release and be like,
Men supporting each other, not only financially, but also socially.
Don't mingle with women you can't deal with.
Is there really a formula for dating and marriage?
Some men are procreational, some men are recreational.
Every Wednesday on TV47, the Men's Conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a maximum of 15 minutes to expound on this and also speak of whether President Uhuru Kenyatta is leaving indeed a legacy that he says he does not want it to be left to someone who's probably not good enough to take it to the next level. And so Agriculture Matters speaking right here, they say, Linda, you keep on interrupting the lady. I want to allow you the chance to speak so that, you articulate this. I don't know whether I am, but I'm just asking questions. And Meshach Owino is saying, Linda, can you ask Orogo this question? Why are they in the One Kenya Alliance if he can say with authority that they are ANC and they will not play second to anyone? It beats logics. And so we come back to you. I interrupted your line of thought.
Yes. And I was saying, I left at the point where I was saying the next government, will be formed by Jubilee Party, ODM, and Wiper, ANC, Ford Kenya, and other parties that are not yet here.
Okay.
But I was still coming to this reality.
That is going to be
that so many people are running away from.
Yeah.
So many people are running away from. And I remember before you interrupted me and before we went for the break, Daniel here asked where the votes are coming from. And I told him, if Raila got half of the votes in Mount Kenya, if Ruto at the same time got half of the votes in Mount Kenya, they would still have more votes than what Mudavadi and Kalonzo can deliver.
Okay.
That is what I'm saying. You see, for Kalonzo is about 1.7 million votes.
Yeah.
If Raila gets half of the votes in the Mount Kenya communities, it's about 4M. Ruto the same, 4M. Can Mudavadi deliver that from Western Kenya? No. So that's why I'm saying, when it comes now to the positions that are remaining, since now the BBI is gone, and it was my darling, and
yes.
It's gone now.
If it doesn't come back.
If it doesn't come back, this power is not this power sharing.
Yes.
Matrix is like there's only one position for the president and only other main position. That is the position of the running mate. And I'm telling His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who has been in the cold for close to 15 years now, please do not extend, your dry spell when it comes to politics.
Yeah.
There is something in the offer. There's still 2 other positions that can be offered. Actually 3. The position of the Speaker of the National Assembly, the position of the Speaker of the Senate, and the super minister. You have discovered nowadays you can have a prefect of the other ministers, yes, who in turn become so powerful. So let them come on the table with that. The other guys who should take other interests, Gideon and Weta, I know they will be taken care of. But what I'm saying, what has made things worse for Kalonzo and Mudavadi is that the Mount Kenya is not producing a presidential candidate.
Hold it
Therefore,
now.
they can play the second fiddle, but not uko chini ya pyramid. It's up here.
I don't know whether this then triggers the conversation, and let me allow Dora to come in. the DP has constantly said that, you know what, even the BBI was about forming up, positions for these key leaders. If you listen to Solomon Kindley, one cannot run away, but actually think that, again, it's about the key leaders. It's about making sure that Weta is not out in the cold. It's about making sure that Kalonzo is not out there in the cold. It's about making sure that Mudavadi is not out there in the cold. What about the common mwananchi?
What about the youth?
Yes,
That is what the
Okay.
that is
Yes.
the deputy
And so when they are not in the cold, then
the leaders of the
are
Wananchi,
okay.
we all cannot fit there.
Okay, we all
Order,
cannot fit there. That's
order,
the reality.
gentlemen.
Let's have some order.
Order.
failed.
Yes.
Done. It is
Dora's time.
Yes, it's my time.
Yeah.
The deputy president was so much against the BBI because it was all about creating positions for certain individuals. How about me? How about the mama mboga in the streets of Nairobi? How about the hawkers waking up very early in the morning at 4, going to Gikomba and bringing stuffs to sell, to get something to eat? Now, that is what the BBI never went anywhere. Because the common mwananchi was going to suffer. If Raila was going to be the prime minister, for example, of what importance was he to me? So we want a presidential candidate who is going to talk to the common mwananchi on how we'll get money on our pockets. That is why we are buying the deputy president's ideas, because he wants to start with the bottom-up approach. The trickle-down has messed up this country since independence in 1965. We've just been waiting for the big rich people to trickle down the small amount of money coming down. That is why people are living very poorly in the slums of Kibera. Now, the bottom-up approach is going to give us the money in our pockets, and everyone should get something to eat. People are sleeping hungry in Turkana, and no one is talking about it. So these positions of trying to compel the Kina Musalia Mudavadi to join the bandwagon of the handshake movement because of 1, 2, 3, William now is very energetic, and they are ganging up against William. So now the Musalia Mudavadi guy is seeing me.
He's looking at you, body language, eh? All right.
Solomon is saying there are some positions still left at the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Senate, and the super cabinet.
And it makes sense because, well, like he says, we all cannot fit up there.
But for now, the common mwananchi is not going to buy that. Okay. What about us?
All right, we have to come to a close, gentlemen.
That is why
we have to come to a close, and I know you want to weigh in on that. Closing remarks would be based on President Uhuru Kenyatta's, statement that do not wash away the legacy of Kibaki. Do not wash away my legacy. Others would ask, what legacy are we talking about?
Yes.
I know. Solomon would articulate the legacy pretty well on some of the things that the president has done. And so, as we come to a close, in relation to that, and briefly on what she speaks of, briefly. Because we have to close in the next 5 minutes or thereabouts.
You see, what Tanga has done, largely UDA, is to cover a narrative that is not sellable. And the reason why even my very intelligent, well-learned and educated friend, Dora, will be talking about bottom-up is because they have not taken time. Rather, the person we are calling the common mwananchi, Tanga has not taken time to break down what this bottom-up is. Linda, there is no day a government will carry money in sacks and distribute, even to prostitutes. It is not going to happen. Every country has what is called the budget-making process. Every country has what is called the budget. Every country has a plan. In Kenya, we are talking about Vision 2030. At the county levels, we're talking about the county integrated development plans. That is how money is given to be able to do all these things we are saying, whether it is for Mama Mboga, whether it is for Boda Boda. There is a reason why we have Kanjo Askaris in all counties, even taxing the Mama Mboga. UDA has not been keen to say, what is this about minimum tax that common citizens had to go to court to stop? UDA was silent. When the president was launching the SME policy of this country that is supposed to carry on to his legacy, the party leader who should have resigned from Jubilee was absent, and his seat was there. But on the same day, in the evening, he was out there in rallies telling people about how he wants to ensure that there is money in the pockets. Government runs within a context of governance and systems. It is not in telling people we are going to bring money. What I want to advise Dora and team to do, begin to break down the how. Yes, you've told us the what it is, which looks clear, but is gloomy. Now tell us the how bit of it. Then once we know the how bit of it, because I sit with some of the people who are struggling to crack the bottom up. They say the only person who knows what this thing is David Ndi and the boss.
And well, they told that they're going to dish that out in...
We need it as fast as possible because there is nothing.
All right.
Because there is nothing.
On
the president's legacy, the president has done quite well, in my view of things. Because if you look at the Jubilee manifesto from 2013 all the way to 2017, many things which were promised have not been delivered, particularly that have to do with empowerment of young people. But if you look at what the Vision 2030 calls the macro indicators, that include infrastructure, that include manufacturing, and also that include institutions, of governance. The Jubilee government, at least in the past 14 months, because the president came up so boldly and said, I am in charge of this government and I want to leave a legacy for the people of Kenya. The government has tried, despite the challenges of his deputy and the kind of backstabbing that we are seeing. If you were to look at, for instance, the kind of road infrastructure that is going on in this country, for the first time, we have a clear road from Nairobi all the way to Moyale. And you can walk on tarmac into Ethiopia. If you look at the kind of infrastructure development that is going on from Nairobi to Mombasa, where we are also talking about not SGR, but possibilities of dual carriage, so that we have the trucks of loads of goods, having limited time to move from this end to that end. You go to Western Kenya, all the way from Nyanza and all that, and look at the kind of promises that now actually the government is enhancing citizens and communities into what projects that are being done. That is just but one, which is infrastructure. Now, one thing that the government has not done very well, which the president has to be very clear about, is the debt burden. Negative 9.3 trillion for a president of this kind of a country, amidst all these cases of corruption that have not been dealt with, is, from my common mwananchi eye, is not very positive. So yes, we can put together the projects that are being done by government, but what is the social infrastructure of those particular hardware programs? Of course,
because of time. Of course.
Of course, there are elements that have to do with counties, and one of the things that I pick, because that is what I do every day, is that the legacy of the president is wanting when it comes to on-source revenue. That the national government did not support counties effectively to be able to enhance their own source revenues, because that really boils up to what the National Treasury collects through KRA.
All right, fair enough. And the reason why I allowed him more time is because I understand he's on the governance watch aspect and therefore keenly watching on what it is that governments are doing, especially at the level of the counties. Coming to you in reaction to what it is that Dora says, and as we close on a legacy that President Uhuru Kenyatta is so keen to protect.
Well, I am always very objective in the president's legacy. And I give it to him that we...
Can we have the mic up, and is it on? It's on.
It's on. That we've seen that His Excellency has made some strides, in terms of really delivering on the agenda in the second term.
It's not picking. I don't know why.
It should. It's on.
It should be able to. It's on, but it's not picking. Maybe we can share with Solomon. All right. But you're very objective. It's all right. Solomon will finish his parting shots, and then he will give you his.
Let me begin by reacting to what she said. William Ruto has the tendency of saying, hao mabwenyenye wameshikana kujitafutia viti. Ni kama yeye anatafuta bibi. He's also looking for the seat.
Okay.
He's also looking for the same. You see, it is that hypocrisy that we need to call off. You are saying, wale wanatafuta viti. Wameshikana watafute viti. And then he says, my 2022 government itatoka wapi kama sio hiyo kitu natafuta. So, number 2, let us say as they are. The president has delivered.
And he has even categorically stated, I have delivered more in my second term than in my first term. What we didn't hear him say is that my deputy was sabotaging my delivery. That's what he said. And true to his words, look around. The Ken Omarwa Road. If you're going, I'm sure you will go to Nanyuki over the holidays.
I was there the other day.
Yes.
Not even a month. Yes.
No, take a drive now in December. The road from from Keno to Marwa, dual carriage. This month is starting this project from Rironi to Mau Summit. Can you imagine 265 kilometers of dual carriageway from here, Nairobi, to Mau Summit? Look at the expressway, the longest in Africa. Second term. So all those things he has delivered in second term is because the saboteur is technically out of government. Yeah. But I want to also call out the hypocrisy also in my deputy president. Because for the successful projects he wants to be part of. For where the president has failed, niliwaambia. You see, you want to be associated with the good things that the president has delivered, but you want to disassociate yourself from the failures. So what I would say, going to the next level, I want to see Raila Amolo Odinga promising what he'll do for this nation. But I want to see the deputy president giving the scorecard. Yes, because we must eliminate this character of leaders. Someone has been a governor for 5 years, and he is promising, but not willing to, elaborate on the delivery. So what I would want to see William doing is telling us what he has done when since he became the deputy president. For the last 10 years, what have you delivered?
Not him, but the Jubilee government. Actually, and he can ride on that as well.
Yes, and
he can ride on that because he's Jubilee.
Nakama alivyokuambia, she told you that he is still the deputy party leader.
All right,
so if he is just out of the Jubilee party, it will be like for 6 or 7 months. So let him tell us, for the last 10 years, what have you delivered? The only person I want to promise me something is Raila Amolo Odinga. For deputy, I want to see a scorecard. If it works for him, we are going to elect him. If it doesn't,
you do not. All right. Okay. As you give Dan that microphone. Dan will be the last person to speak. Dora, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and on protecting the legacy and us as Kenyans getting the right people. Many would say, please do not tell us. You do not have, the authority to tell us who we're going to vote. But I mean, that is his suggestion. It is for us to pick what he says and decide on whether to bank on that or whether to go it the way he wants us to go it, or just make a decision that is going to be good for us.
Okay, Uhuru Kenyatta has done so well in the infrastructure, but the economy is doing very badly. So for the sake of his legacy, I think what he should do is just go to Gatundu, retire as a gentleman, keep quiet there. We've seen what he has done in 10 years, and we are okay as Kenyans. He should now do best to go and be silent and wait for us to choose our own leaders. He should not be compelling us on who to choose and why.
Okay.
Yes. Picking up from there, the president cannot purport to manage his legacy. He can do that, but the ultimate decision relies with the people of Kenya in the ballot. And allow me to say that, all the monkeys are the same. I don't know that the forests are the same. These people are united by interest, cross-board. So again, I like to say that as much as we propagate the presidential candidates, then I think it's time also we ask as young people what is in the store for us. But lastly, Linda, let us have us here again to explain these political philosophies. That will really help. And that will help the viewers to understand the bottom-up, uchumi bora, azimio, and how viable can you get 6,000 in the pockets of people monthly, and how that informs. I'm just saying how possible. Osido was asking the how. I think next time invite us to explain the how. That would be really helpful. But as we proceed, we have a constitution in this country, and I think for us as a country, let us manage to be a constitutional country. The young people should, I don't know whether the voter is extended, the registration
well,
is extended.
At least the courts have declared that.
Yeah, I think it's important that youth turn out and go and register as voters, because that is what will ultimately make the difference in their voice.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I hope that next time when I invite you to tell us the how, then you'll have armed yourself with facts and figures. We do not want people here not giving us clear, of course, how-tos, because then it's evident that there's a lot of trouble in terms of explaining what it is. Not bottom down or bottoms up or anything. Thank you so much. Daniel Orogo, governance expert.